Yeah, and we did our first story on this a couple of days ago
Yeah.
when Guam EPA's Nick Lee was on the show,
Yeah.
and he was talking about an inspection that was conducted last week Friday after receiving complaints, pictures, and videos regarding the runoff from that solar farm. And so we received those pictures just yesterday uh, regarding the erosion and what's happening with the Marbo Cave area. And so DPW did an assessment yesterday, and they're meeting about it probably as we speak. So let's bring in Nick, who is in the Zoom room. Good morning, Nick. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. Thank you for having me.
So, have you seen the pictures of what's happening over now at the Marbo Cave area? And was that part
Yes.
of the inspection that Guam EPA did last week?
Yes, some of the photos that are circulating are from the agency's personnel. So these photos, well, the ones I've seen are associated with an additional inspection that took place yesterday afternoon. This time it was in the Marbo Cave area adjacent to the solar farm property. And so the environmental monitoring team, which consisted of the program administrator and one of the biologists, did a site inspection of the cave area and observed that there was a significant amount of sediment that had been deposited into the area. The pathway that most folks would normally take to access the cave has been obliterated, and that could be attributed to the influx of stormwater that could be associated with the project after the heavy rainfall we've been receiving over the last several days. It's in bad shape. The monitoring team did make a recommendation that Marbo Cave site should be closed off to the public, out of concerns for safety. Accessing that area is a challenge in normal conditions for some people, but based on what the program observed, it's likely that it's best that the public refrain from visiting that area just so that they don't get hurt. Trying to get down into the cave.
Who's going to pay for this, Nick?
A responsible party will be identified, and I don't want to make this specific to this contractor, so I'm going to speak very generally because the findings that I'm going to provide today are still going to be preliminary. I can tell you that a notice of violation is being drafted. It's going through legal review and will be prepped for the administrator's signature. There are still additional inspections that need to take place, especially in the surrounding jungles, just so that we can identify any additional scouring that was caused by the improperly managed stormwater runoff from the project. So the responsible party is liable for any and all damages that are going to be associated with their project, along with any remedial action that can be taken. There are some instances where natural attenuation will take place, meaning nature does have a way of healing itself, but if there is something that must be done to correct the infractions, then that is going to be on the responsible party. And in this case, it is likely that the contractor's got a lot to be responsible for. We reviewed their plans. There was no reason, there was no evidence that these guys would be in violation of anything. There's no history of any wrongdoings with any of their projects. And when you look at the photos and you go through the inspections, it's obvious that this is egregiously in violation of our regulations. it also sends the wrong message to responsible contractors who manage their projects responsibly. You have a plan that you submit to the agency. It goes through review. You stick to that plan. It's as simple as that. There was some issues with the ponding basins on this project site. Some of them were either incomplete or not constructed at all. And again, these are preliminary findings. When anytime you start doing any earth moving work, you've got to guarantee that these control measures are in place. Otherwise, you're going to have problems like what we're seeing now. It is completely irresponsible. It is a disservice to the community when. And here's the ironic part. Your project is to look into sustainable energy, and you don't take the time and you don't honor the spirit of the project when you're causing damage that could have otherwise been avoided.
Nick, you're using words
the
like
agency is going. I'm sorry.
You're using words like egregious, disservice, irresponsible. We're talking about Marbo Cave, and from what you're saying, the entire path going down there has been obliterated. We see in the pictures that are showing that the actual cave, which is rich in historical significance, right?
Isn't that fresh water?
Yeah, it's a freshwater source. I mean,
I didn't even see any water.
Yeah. I know that the NOV is still in its draft stages.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering about the cleanup and I mean the obvious impact, and how do you go into an area like this that is historically significant, and I'm pretty sure is probably, I want to say it might be under the jurisdiction of, I don't know, is the SHPO?
Those things need to be determined, and I know that we want to do our best to inform the public of what the government is going to do about this. We don't want to give any premature details until we have dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's on that document. And so I do want to share what I can with you folks and the rest of the community. As a reminder, you guys have covered countless stories on responsible parties who have received notices of violations, and there's a component in there. Everybody kind of focuses on what's known as the administrative penalty order. That's kind of the liquidated damages, where you have a dollar amount assessed in the form of a fine. Part of that also is the orders of compliance, and that tells you what you need to do to correct this. And so there's still a lot of work that needs to go into finalizing that document. I mean, it is still our responsibility as a regulatory agency that we don't violate any due process. And if we did that, we're no better than the people that we're accusing of committing these environmental infractions. So I do want everybody to understand that. I imagine at some point there's going to be a long list of things that the contractor needs to do to first ensure that no further damage is going to take place, followed by orders to have some remediation on the site performed, and possibly even monitoring after those actions have taken place. Hard to say at this point. This is very much in investigation mode right now with the agency. There are additional site visits that are going to be planned today by both the Water Pollution Control Program and the Environmental Monitoring Program. The results of those site inspections are going to be assessed and will be included in the notice of violation, which again includes your orders of compliance and your administrative penalty order.
I'm just looking at one of those pictures with that platform. Is that where people, jump off of to go swimming?
It looks like a cement
Yeah.
square-shaped
Yeah.
platform. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So how would you clean that up? It just looks like you can't swim there anymore, like ever.
That's something that we have to determine. In speaking to the environmental monitoring program, we may have to enlist the help and the services of a hydrogeologist. We're not exactly experts in that field.
Yeah.
I've heard that Guam has not had a territorial hydrogeologist in a while. I don't quote me on that though. But I know that we may probably have to sit down and have some discussion with Weary, somebody who is an expert in that field, to see what can be done. But first things first is whatever we do, it should not produce any more harm to that area. And so that discussion is still a little whiles away. The primary focus is on having the contractor correct all of the infractions that it will be responsible for once that violation is issued.
How many ponding basins are supposed to be there? Do you know?
Looking at the preliminary reports, they talk about site visits to ponding basins 1, 3, 4, and 5. So you could reasonably assume there's supposed to be at least 5 if they're numbered sequentially. Some of these ponding basins that were inspected were either not constructed or in the middle of construction, or did not contain the required BMPs or control features that were indicated in the project plan. And before I continue, I'm hearing that when the plan was reviewed, it was a great plan. The problem with plans, though, if you don't follow through what you put on paper, then you have problems, and we're all witnessing that right now.
All right.
Well, Nick, I appreciate the gravity with which you're speaking. I could tell that this is definitely something that the agency is taking very, very seriously. So thanks for coming on.
Right on, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Once the notice is issued, you can find it on our website. We'll probably issue a press release on that and address any questions that anybody has. Okay.
Right.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. You guys take care.
Take care.
So they're advising the public stay out of the area.
You can't go swimming there
Yeah.
anymore. That's just sad. Look at it. When you look at the picture,
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
that's where people used to jump off of
Yeah,
into the
that's right.
beautiful blue, clear water
Yeah.
filled with